I want to start this video by telling you something that took me longer than it should have to understand. The information gap between someone who grew up in London or New York and someone who grew up in Lagos, Dhaka, or Bogota, it is not about intelligence, it is not about work ethic, it is about access to information. And nowhere is that gap more brutal than in fully funded PhD applications. Because here is the thing, fully funded PhD applications where university or funding organizations pays your tuition, pays your living expenses, and gives you a stipend to actually live on, they exist. They are real. Thousands of PhD applications open up every year across Europe, North America, Australia, Asia, and beyond. So, if you didn't grow up in an environment where someone has done a PhD, or a teacher who knew about these programs, or a university with a strong study abroad office, you might go your entire undergraduate and master career and never hear a single person mention that this was an option. And you know what? Through this channel, I have spoken to people from Bangladesh, Zimbabwe, Ecuador, India, Indonesia, Cameroon, and many other countries, people who started exactly where you might be starting right now. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact roadmap. No fluff, no vague inspiration, but the actual process. First, let's get one thing straight because I see this confusion everywhere in the comments. Fully funded does not mean I got a scholarship to pay my tuition. That is partially funded. Fully funded means three things together. Number one, your tuition fees are covered entirely. Number two, you receive a monthly stipend. In UK, that's around 18,000 pounds a year right now. In Germany, it's around 1400 euros a month. In US and Canada, it can vary between $20,000 to $35,000 a year depending on the university and the type of scholarship. Sometimes this includes health insurance, conference travel funding, and research expenses too. So when you are searching for a PhD positions, you are looking for all three of those things together, not just fee waivers. That's a full package. Now, who funds these positions? This is where it gets important. There are four main types of funding you need to understand, and knowing the difference changes how you search, how you apply, and how you write your emails. Type 1 is Research Council funded positions. In UK, this means UKRI, the body that funds most PhDs at the top universities. In US, it's NSF, NIH, or similar. In Germany, it's DFG. These are the most common type of fully funded PhD, where a supervisor gets a research grant. They hire a PhD student to work on the project, and the student gets paid. These positions are often advertised on findaphd.com or directly at the university website. Type 2 is the international fellowships and European grants. This is where the Global South applicants often have the most opportunity but also the least awareness. For example, the Marie Curie Fellowship offers fully funded PhD positions from any country to study in Europe. Then secondly, we have Humboldt Foundation in Germany. Then we have the Vanier and MyTech Scholarship in Canada. These are specifically designed for international students, and they are genuinely competitive and also genuinely open. Type 3 are the university scholarships. Many universities outside UK and US offer their own fully funded awards specifically targeting international students. For example, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, South Korea, Japan, China. These countries actively recruit international PhD students and have structured funding for them. This is massively underexplored by all applicants from Global South who only look at UK, US, and max to max Australia. Type 4 is the industry funded PhDs, where a company partners with the university to fund a PhD on a research question relevant to their business. The student works partly for the university and partly for the company. These are often fully funded with higher stipends, and they are frequently open to international applicants because companies don't care about nationality, they care about talent. Alright, so where do you actually find these positions? I am going to give you specific websites and strategies because this is where most people waste their most time. Website number one is findaphd.com. This is the most comprehensive database for UK and international positions. And interestingly, it also has a lot of filters. So always use the filters and don't scroll through unfunded positions hoping something changes. Filter first. Website number two, the university's own website. This is underused. So go directly to the PhD admissions or graduate school page of any university you are interested in, or directly to the lab that you are interested in. Look for the scholarships, open positions, or any other fellowship or funding opportunities that is mentioned in their graduate school page or laboratory website. Many positions are only advertised there and they never reach the main websites like findaphd.com. Website number three, Your Access. This is European Commission official research jobs portal. It lists hundreds of funded PhD positions across European countries. It's searchable by field, country, and salary. If you are interested in Europe at all, bookmark this. Website number four, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, or LinkedIn. This is slightly a different strategy. Instead of searching for positions, you search for professors or scientists. Find a researcher whose work genuinely excites you. Read their 2 to 3 recent research articles. Check if they have their own websites or open group or have recently published with any PhD students. Then reach out to them directly. Some of the best funded PhD positions are never advertised. They are filled through direct professor contact. And make sure that you are following your professors or researchers on LinkedIn, ResearchGate, Google Scholar, because professors post about funded positions opening in their labs on these platforms. Comes the most important part, how to choose the right supervisor. I want to spend some time here because I think it is the most underrated part of the whole process. Choosing the right supervisor is more important than choosing the right university. Your supervisor will define your PhD experience more than anything else. They are the person who will support your visa process, advocate for your funding, connect you to the right academic network that leads to the first job, and either support your mental health or make it worse. So, how do you evaluate a supervisor or a researcher if you have never met them? Here is what I look at and what I tell people to look at. First, do they have current funding? Look at their lab page or the university profile. Do they list any of the active grants? Are there any current PhD students who are working in their lab? A professor with an active research funding is far more likely to be able to fund new PhD students than the one who hasn't published in the last 2 years. Second, how do their past students speak about them? Search for the former students on LinkedIn. Did those students finish their PhD? Did they get good positions afterwards? You can sometimes reach out to former students and ask them about their experience. Most of those students will be honest. Thirdly, are they responsive and specific? When you email them, which we are going to talk about in a moment, do they reply? Do they engage with specifics of your research interest? A supervisor who sends a generic response or no response at all is showing you exactly what the next 4 years would look like. Fourth, do their current research themes align with yours? Not loosely, but specifically. For example, if you're interested in machine learning for climate modeling and they work on general machine learning theory, then this might not be the right fit you need. The closer is your alignment of your research interest with the supervisor research themes, the stronger is your application and the better is your actual PhD experience. So now you have found a professor whose work genuinely interests you and you want to reach out to them. So, how do you write an email that actually gets a reply? I have spoken to many professors about this, and the volume of emails they receive is staggering. Some gets 50 or more cold emails a week from prospective PhD students. Most of these emails get deleted within 10 seconds. Within 10 seconds. Here is why, and here is what you should do instead. So the emails that get deleted all have same shape. They are long, they are generic, and they say things like I am highly motivated and passionate about research in your esteemed lab. They list every qualification that the person has, and they end with please consider me for the available position. That email could have been sent to hundreds and hundreds of professors with just one click. Professors know that and they delete it. The emails that get replies are specific, short, and demonstrate that you have actually read their work. Few things to notice about successful emails. It is under 200 words. It references a specific paper by name with specific observation. It states clearly that you are looking for a funded position. It asks for a specific thing, a conversation, and it attaches a research statement and application package so that a supervisor can analyze your profile without having to ask for more information. And one more thing, follow up once, exactly 7 to 10 days later, with a single short sentence. I want to follow up on my email from the last week in case it got buried. Happy to share more about my background if useful. That's it. One follow up, not three. Now, let's talk about the actual application because this is where a lot of Global South applicants who are genuinely qualified lose out to applicants who are sometimes less qualified but better prepared. Most fully funded PhD applications have four components: a research proposal or a statement of purpose, academic transcripts, your references, and sometimes a writing sample. Let's go through each one of them. All right, so let's talk about the first component, research proposal. It is the one that matters most and the one most people write worse. Here is the core mistake. People write about what they want to study in general terms. For example, I'm interested in studying climate change and its effect on agriculture in Africa. Well, that's a topic, not a proposal. A strong proposal answers four questions. First, what specific gap exists in the current knowledge? Second, why does filling that gap matters? Third, what specific methods will you use? Fourth, why are you the right person to do this? The second research component, the power of your references. Choose people who know your work specifically, not just people with impressive titles. A letter from a professor who supervised your dissertation and can speak in detail about your intellectual curiosity is worth far more than a letter from a famous professor who barely knows you. Committees can tell the difference immediately. The third component is your transcripts. If your grades aren't perfect, address it directly in your personal statement. Don't hope they won't notice it. A brief, honest acknowledgement of your difficult period, followed by evidence of your recovery and your genuine ability, will be demonstrated better as compared to the transcript that just sits there in your application package without any explanation. Now, I want to be honest with you about the mistakes that I see most often, specifically from the Global South applicants, in a way that isn't always talked about. Mistake number one, only applying to US and UK. These are the two most competitive, most expensive countries for international PhD students, and many of their funded PhD positions exclude international applicants. Meanwhile, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, Belgium, South Korea, Japan, and China have fully funded positions specifically for international students with far less competition. Widen your geography. Mistake 2. Applying too late. Most funded PhD positions have deadlines between November and January for the following academic year. Many students and applicants are still thinking about it in March. That's too late. Set a calendar reminder right now. PhD application season begins in October. Mistake number 3, the generic SOP. We have already covered this, but I want to repeat it again because it is the single most reason strong candidates get rejected. So be specific, be specific, be specific. Mistake number 4, not addressing the funding question directly in your application. If you are an international student applying for a fully funded position, make it crystal clear in your cover letter or email that you understand the funding situation and that you are applying for a fully funded place. Mistake 5. Underestimating your own experiences. I say this especially to people from countries where there is a cultural tendency to be modest about achievements. The academic world, particularly in the West, is not a place for modesty in your application documents. Your research assistant position, your community project, your published paper in a local journal, your conference presentation at a national event. These things matter. List them, own them. They are not small. Market yourself well. Now, a quick reality check before we finish, because the fully funded PhD offer is just the beginning. Most PhD salaries in Europe and North America are livable but not comfortable. In UK, you are looking at around £1,500 per month. In Germany, around €1,400 a month. In Netherlands, around €2,000 a month. In Canada and USA, it can be between $2,000 to $3,000, maybe $3,500. Depending on the city, it varies widely. Some programs in expensive cities like New York or San Francisco are genuinely difficult to live on. Alright, so before you accept any offer, research the actual cost of living in that specific city, not the country, but the city. A PhD salary in rural Germany or in rural Canada goes much further than the same amount in big cities like Berlin or Toronto. Use websites like Numbeo to compare city level cost, not the national averages. Now on visas, most universities have international student office and they will guide you through the student visa process once you have an offer. The key thing to know is that a fully funded PhD position is one of the strongest foundations for a student visa application you can have. It demonstrates financial support, a clear academic purpose, and institutional sponsorship. Visa denials for a properly funded PhD students are relatively uncommon, but they do happen. And if you have any concerns about your specific country visa history, speak to the international office directly. The last thing I want to say before the practical steps is this. The process I have described today is real and it works. I have seen it work for people from every corner of the world, but it requires something that no databases, no email templates can give you: the belief that you belong in these spaces. Information gap is real, but you are watching this video and you are closing that gap right now. Your next step is simple. Pick one field. Find 3 professors whose work genuinely excites you. Read one paper from each of them. Write one email this week, not next month, this week. That is how it starts.